And we are live.
Yay! Um, okay, we'll get it out of the way. I'm old new dude. He is
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
the reason that you don't see Krista Crow waving from the wall in the comment sections today is because he's on a car ride as the navigator, even though that the phone is plugged up to the car and being shown on a pretty good sized screen. Um, he is the navigator. So he is en route to a vacation with the rest of my family. Um, he left me, stabbed me in the back. He, 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 he forsaken his vows at the wall. Uh, so if after today, you won't be able to get a hold of him for a week, but just give him hell.
So
But
he's Cletus Judas Brutus. He's stabbed you in the back. Anyway,
there you go. But yep, that's and then like I said, I'm working with uh, Lady Thistle. If you're watching this or watching all the rewind, I just sent the. I was telling Richard it's been kind of a little bit of a hectic week with open house for schools, getting them ready for their vacation. I'm behind normally all the time, and this week was a little bit harder than usual, so I'm a little bit further behind working on Richard's opinion and then yours for possibly doing something next week with another theory. Um, so when we get off of this, um, I'll get a hold of Lady Sis. Hey, there you go.
too crap.
Hey. Lady Thistle, when I get off of this today, I'm going to possibly jump on a chat with you about the theory that I want to work on next week.
I definitely don't. I
And,
definitely don't dislike it. I don't know that I see a whole lot of textual evidence to support it,
hey,
you know,
redacted,
as a
redacted. Well, I mean, here's the thing, and I'm going to. I can't talk about it without talking about it.
that's
Uh,
rad. That's
but um, on that subject, George has been really adamant about that dragons only have four limbs, just like everything else on Earth. Uh, two legs, two wings. If I'm not mistaken, in the World Book, there are dragons
fun.
that have. There you go.
It's worse fun in that.
Rabbit hole's a rabbit hole. But if I'm not mistaken, there are, and we've been told that any picture that appears in these books, George has given the green light on. Um, like I swore there's a four-legged dragons in there somewhere.
I mean, by that logic, he proves the calendar, and the calendar shows weird woods with green leaves, and what's the other thing that he shows recently? That
Hey,
was totally
do
wrong.
you want to be redacted again?
There's a couple. There's a couple different
Do
things
you want? Now, here's
that
my
recent
theory on the two-legged dragons.
calendar
Hey, actually,
have arrived.
if the dragons had four legs, front and back, and the wings, giving them basically six limbs, then the evidence is even more clear that the Chinese dragon-looking fireworms that have arms and the wyverns that don't grow to dragon size and are barely big enough for possibly somebody to ride them, but they're too wild for that to happen. If you combine the two legs of the wyvern, the front arms of the fireworm, and the wings of the wyvern, you get six limbs. So having a six-limbed dragon is more evidence that they were created by man combining these two things. That's my tinfoil on it.
It's also
Okay.
weird to pretend like insects don't exist when you say that there's nothing on Earth with six legs. I'm like, isn't that like the definite part of the definition of an insect? But anyway,
Yeah. Okay. We can't talk about it too much more because I don't want to give the game
yeah,
away.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
So should we get to it then?
Yes, please, please. I almost did smiley face, heart eyes when I was doing the typing in for this chapter because this is Jamie chapter. And I don't know if
Well,
Pod's here yet, but it's a Jamie's chapter pod.
Storm 62, Jamie 7. Ooh, holy number 7. They're
Lucky
giant
number 7.
bugs. After Sansa escapes, Jamie returns to King's Landing, and I kind of want to emphasize the Sansa parallels here because it's kind of interesting. The king is dead, they told him, never knowing that Joffrey was his son as well as his sovereign. The imp opened his throat with a dagger, a costermonger declared at the roadside inn where they spent the night. He drank his blood from a big gold chalice. Men did not recognize the bearded one-handed knight with the big shield, no more than any of them. So he said things he might otherwise have swallowed, had he known who was listening. It was poison did the deed, the innkeep insisted. The boy's face turned black as a plum. That's pretty close to the correct story there. May the father judge him justly, murmured a septon. The dwarf's wife did the murder with him, swore an archer in Lord Rowan's livery. Afterward, she vanished from the hall in a puff of brimstone, and a ghostly direwolf was seen prowling the Red Keep, blood dripping from his jaws. Jamie sat silent through it all. 6 limbs goes with exoskeletons, I think. There are no animals with an internal skeleton that have 6 limbs. LMAO or something. He's right. Jamie sat silent through it all, letting the words wash over him. A horn of ale forgotten in his one good hand. Joffrey, my blood, my firstborn, my son. He tried to bring the boy's face to mind, but his features kept turning into Cersei's. She will be in mourning, her hair in disarray and her eyes red from crying, her mouth trembling as she tries to speak. She will cry again when she sees me, though she'll fight the tears. His sister seldom wept when she was with him. She could not stand for others to think her weak. Only to her twin did she show her wounds. She will look to me for comfort and revenge. Well, I got the revenge part right, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They rode hard the next day at Jamie's insistence. His son was dead and his
Hey,
sister needed
let
him.
me ask you a question. In this
Yep.
book, there are, for some reason, words or sentences that the text is slightly different. Do you know why?
I mean, I'm probably going from an electronic source, and you're probably going from a published source, so it's probably been updated.
Well, I mean, it's not just like the most of them are your typical letters that you would possibly see that typewriter put out, and then you get the slightly angled. It's like with this began with
Oh, you're saying the font changes?
yeah,
Huh. That's
like
interesting.
the king is dead is done in one font, and then the very next after the comma they told him. I
It might
mean,
just be italics.
I don't know. It's a
It's
question.
definitely italicized thoughts like that sometimes.
Well, I mean, a lot of times it's not thoughts though, or it might be.
Yeah.
All right, I'll check
Anyway.
as you read on. All right, sorry.
All right. No, it definitely uses italics quite a bit, especially in thoughts to make sort of quotes inside thoughts. When he saw the city before him, its watchtowers dark against the gathering dusk, Jamie Lannister, I do wonder what he actually told them to get them there. He just, I mean, obviously he's insisting that they ride fast and he can just give orders and he doesn't have to have reasons. You do wonder if he gave them a reason for wanting to his insistence, Jamie's insistence. It says, I assume he didn't say my son is dead.
Yeah.
When he saw the city before him, its watchtowers dark against the gathering dusk, Jamie Lannister cantered up to Steel Shankswell behind Nage with the peace banner. What's that awful stink? The Northman complained. Death, thought Jamie, but he said, smoke, sweat, and shit. King's Landing, in short. If you have a good nose, you can smell the treachery, too. You've never smelled a city before? I smelled White Harbor. It never stank like this. White Harbor is to King's Landing as my brother Tyrion is to Sir Gregor Clegane. Nage led them up a low hill, the seven-tailed peace banner lifting and turning in the wind, the polished seven-pointed star shining bright upon its staff. He would see Cersei soon, and Tyrion and their father. Could my brother truly have killed the boy? Jimmy found that hard to believe. He was curiously calm. Men were supposed to go mad with grief when their children died, he knew. They were supposed to tear their hair out by the roots, to curse the gods and swear red vengeance. So why was it that he felt so little? The boy lived and died believing Robert Baratheon his sire. Asked and answered. Jamie had seen him born, that was true, though more for Cersei than the child, but he had never held him. How would it look? His sister warned him when the woman finally left him. Bad enough Joff looks like you without you mooning over him. Jamie yielded with hardly a fight. The boy had been a squalling pink thing that demanded too much of Cersei's time, Cersei's love, and Cersei's breasts. Robert was welcome to him. And now he's dead. He pictured Joff's, lying still and cold with a face black from poison, and still felt nothing. Perhaps he was the monster they claimed. If the Father above came down to offer him back his son or his hand, Jamie knew which he would choose. He had a second son, after all, and seed enough for many more. So this reminds me of Jim Belushi in the 1987 movie The Principal. When threatened with having his hand cut off, he nonchalantly declares he has another one. Although here, the man threatened with losing a hand or a son says he has a second son instead of a second hand.
There you go. Getting back to the change in the font, perhaps he was the monster they claimed. Or in that sentence, perhaps he, the monster they claimed. And the word was, the font changes.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's also perhaps he was the monster they claimed. Okay.
Oh, okay. They're doing it for effect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't want to sound
Just
stupid,
italics.
but
Just italics, just emphasis. Yep.
Okay.
If Cersei wants another child, I'll give her one. And this time I'll hold him, and the others take those who do not like it. Robert was rotting in his grave, and Jamie was thick of lies. He turned abruptly and galloped back to find Brienne. Gods know why I bother. She is the least companionable creature I've ever had the misfortune to meet. The wench rode well behind and a few feet off to the side, as if to proclaim that she was no part of them. They'd found men's garb for her along the way, a tunic here, a mantle there, a pair of breeches and a cowled cloak, even an old iron breastplate. She looked more comfortable dressed as a man, but nothing would ever make her look handsome, nor happy. Once out of Harrenhal, her usual pig-head stubbornness had soon reasserted itself. I want my arms and armor back, she'd insisted. Oh, by all means, let us have you back in steel, Jamie replied. A helm, especially. We'll be happier if you keep your mouth shut and your visor down. That much Brienne could do, but her sullen silences soon began to fray his good humor almost as much as Codburn's endless attempts to be ingratiating. I never thought I would find myself missing the company of Cleo's Frey, gods help me. He's beginning to wish he'd left her for the bear after all. King's Landing, Jamie announced when he found her. Our journey's done, my lady. You've kept your vow and delivered me to King's Landing. All but a few fingers and a hand. Brienne's eyes were listless. That was only half my vow. I told Lady Catelyn I would bring her back her daughters. Or Sansa at the least. And now... She never met Robb Stark, yet her grief for him runs deeper than mine for Joff. Or perhaps it was Lady Catelyn she mourned. They'd been at Brindlewood when they had that news. A red-faced tub of a knight named Sir Bertram Beesbury, whose arms were 3 beatings on a field striped black and yellow. A troop of Lord Piper's men had passed through Brindlewood only yesterday, Beesbury told them, rushing to King's Landing beneath a peace banner of their own. With the young wolf dead, Piper saw no point of fighting on. His son is captive with the twins. Brienne gaped like a cow about to choke on her cud, so it fell to Jamie to draw up the tale of the Red Wedding. Every great lord has unruly bannermen who envy him his place, he told her afterward. My father had the reins in Tarbex. The Tyrells have the Florence. Hoster Tully had Walder Frey. Only strength keeps such men in their place. The moment they smell weakness. During the Age of Heroes, the Boltons used to flay the Starks and wear their skins as cloaks. She looked so miserable that Jamie almost found himself wanting to comfort her. Jamie is trying to get to Cersei to comfort her and wanting to comfort Brienne. Interesting.
I think it's odd. I wonder how many times it's said in here about the Boltons flaying the Starks and wearing their skins.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there is possibly some Bolton blood in the Starks. If the magical powers of possibly pretending to be somebody else just by wearing their skin type thing, which would, if Bolton is not true as way it's spoken, The
Well, we
faithless
know we
man
know
really,
you can do that. We know you can do that because we've seen Arya do it, right?
yeah, that's what I was
So
getting
we
ready to
know,
say.
and you get the memories when you do that.
That's what I was getting ready to say because we saw it with the faithless man with just the face, but I wonder if wearing the whole skin,
Gives you even
uh,
more.
yeah, would help give you more memories, be able to change your, possibly your stature within so much, uh, um, help with the
Well,
walk.
that is interesting. Um, so in the Book of the New Sun, the Jojen paste ritual there where he actually first becomes a mind meld, um, the main character, he, he eats one of the few people that he really loves, right, and gets her memory and kind of becomes part her and part him, and um, in fact, if I'm convinced that George sort of stole Pear-shaped man's short story from that concept because he starts blending the pronouns at times and because he's both male and female now at that point, right? And it's pretty early on in the book series. Um, and oh, one of the things I don't know if I've ever mentioned, he has what he calls a dog that he nurses back to health. This is the main character who goes on to become a hive mind and a time traveling god king.
Mm.
He 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 finds dog that he nurses back to health. Although when he describes it, it's like bigger than a horse and teeth and like some sort of alien creature or something. But he calls
Yeah,
it a dog. Well, when he finds that dog, he finds it in a pile of dead dire wolves that he thinks it had been fighting. Um,
okay.
that's something I forgot to mention.
George is just nothing but a big giant thief.
Exactly. But anyway, um, I was thinking about the fact that he kind of talks. I mean, it is true that there's been some evidence that, like with earthworms, that you can like chop them up in little pieces and feed them, and if they've been shown like a maze where they got fed faster if they went certain ways, then all the animals, all the earthworms that eat a tiny piece of the earthworm, can now quickly do that maze to get food
Is that
faster, right?
true?
Yeah, so at least that's what I read when I was a kid. I don't know if it's given
I gotta look
given
that
how
up, man.
much.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah, well, he talks about so in the ritual where people get other people's memories, he talks about the concept that, well, you know, you wind up being a significant portion of the essence of your father when all he did was squirt a little juice, right? And he said, so is it really that crazy to think that eating a small piece of a person could give you their memories? Anyway, that's how he specifically talks about that. Could be about them killing their direwolves too. Only way to kill a ward for real is to kill their wolf too, steal their skin. Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, that is interesting. Since that day, Brienne had been like one half dead. Even calling her wench failed to provoke any response. The strength is gone from her. The woman had dropped a rock on Robin Roger, battled a bear with a tourney sword, been off Vargo Hoat's ear, and fought Jamie to exhaustion. But she was broken now, done. I'll speak to my father about returning you to Tarth if it please you, he told her. Or if you'd rather stay, I could perchance find some place for you at court. As a lady companion to the queen, she said dully. Jamie remembered the sight of her in that pink satin gown and tried not to imagine what his sister might say of such a companion. Perhaps a post with the city watch. I will not serve with oath-breakers and murderers. Then why did you ever bother putting on a sword, he might have said, but he bit back the words. As you will, Brienne. One-handed he wheeled his horse about and left her. Things very close to the Princess Bride's As You Wish. The Gate of the Gods was open when they reached it, but 2 dozen wains were lined up along the roadside, loaded with casks of cider, barrels of apples, bales of hay, and some of the biggest pumpkins Jamie had ever seen. Almost every wagon had its guards, men at arms wearing the badges of small lordlings, sellswords and mail and boiled leather, sometimes only a pink-cheeked farmer's son clutching a homemade spear with a fire-hardened point. Jamie smiled at them and was all as he trotted past. At the gate, the gold cloaks were collecting coin from each driver before waving the wagons through. What's this? Steelshanks demanded. They gotta pay for the right to sell inside the city by command of the king's hand and the master of coin. Jamie looked at the long line of wagons, carts, and laden horses. Yet they still line up to pay? There's good coin to be made here now that the fighting's done, the miller in the nearest wagon told him cheerfully. It's the Lannisters hold the city now. Old Lord Tywin of the Rock. They say he shoots silver. Gold, Jamie corrected dryly. And Littlefinger mints the stuff from Goldenrod, I vow. The imp is master of coin now, said the captain at the gate. Or was, till they arrested him for murdering the king. The man looked the Northman over suspiciously. Who are you lot? Lord Bolton's men, come to see the king's hand. The captain glanced at Nage with his peace banner. Come to bend the knee, you mean? You're not the first. Go straight up to the castle and see, make no trouble. He waved them through and turned back to the wagons. If King's Landing mourned its dead boy king, Jamie would never have known it. On the street of Seeds, a begging brother in threadbare robes was praying loudly for Joffrey's soul. The passers-by paid him no more heed than they would a loose shutter banging in the wind. Elsewhere milled the usual crowds, gold cloaks in their black mail, bakers' boys selling tarts and breads and hot pies, whores leaning out of windows with their bodices half unlaced, gutters redolent of night soil. They passed 5 men trying to drag a dead horse to the mouth of an alley, and elsewhere a juggler spinning knives through the air to delight a throng of drunken Tyrell soldiers and small children. Riding down familiar streets with 200 Northmen, a chainless maester, and an ugly freak of a woman at his side, Jimmy found he scarcely drew a second look. He did not know whether he ought to be amused or annoyed. They do not know me, he said to Steelshanks as they rode through Cutler's Square. Your face has changed and your arms as well, the Northman said. And they have a new Kingslayer now. They think the new Kingslayer is the little brother of the old Kingslayer, but she's actually the little sister of the Valonqar, the Queenslayer. See Triplet Targaryens, Episode 6. The gates to the Red Keep were open, but a dozen gold cloaks armed with pikes barred the way. They lowered their points as Steelshanks came trotting up, but Jamie recognized the White Knight commanding them. Sir Meryn. Sir Meryn Trant's droopy eyes went wide. Sir Jamie? How nice to be remembered. Move these men aside. It had been a long time since anyone had leapt to obey him quite so fast. Jamie had forgotten how well he liked it. They found 2 more Kingsguard in the outer ward, 2 who had not worn white cloaks when Jamie had last served here. How like Cersei to name me Lord Commander and then choose my colleagues without consulting me. Someone has given me 2 new brothers, I see, he said as he dismounted. We have that honor, sir. The Knight of Flowers shone so fine and pure in his white scales and silk that Jamie felt a tattered and tawdry thing by contrast. Jamie turned to Meryn Trant. Sir, you've been remiss in teaching our new brothers their duties. What duties? Said Meryn Trant offensively. Keeping the king alive. How many monarchs have you lost since I left the city? 2, is it? Then Sir Balon saw the stunt. Your hand. Jamie made himself smile. I fight with my left now. It makes for more of a contest. Where will I find my Lord Father? In the Solar with Lord Tyrell and Prince Oberyn. Mace Tyrell and the Red Viper breaking bread together? Strange and stranger. So that kind of reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. Curiouser and curiouser. Is the Queen with them as well? No, my lord, Sir Balon answered. You'll find her in the Sept, praying over King Joff. You! The last of the Northmen had dismounted, Jamie saw, and now Loras Tyrell had seen Brienne. Sir Loras! She stood stupidly, holding her bridle. Loras Tyrell strode toward her. Why? He said. You will tell me why. He treated you kindly, gave you a rainbow cloak. Why would you kill him? I never did. I would have died for him. You will, Sir Loras drew his longsword. It was not me. Edmund Kai, I don't know how to pronounce that, swore it was with his dying breath. Dying because you murdered 3 innocent guards when the man you love was taken from you. Like the Kingslayer. See Triplet Targaryens, Episode 6.
Just I would think, all right, as badass as Loras Tyrell is, he flat out tells you that he's just like Jon and Robb.
Yep.
He's better with a lance than a sword.
Yep.
But he's still badass with a sword. That should tell you how bad Garland Tyrell is with a sword.
Right. Like Jamie will refer to him as almost as good as Renly's Ghost, right? And he's flat out told us that he knows that Garland is a lot better swordfighter than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was outside the tent. He never saw it. There was no one in the tent but you and Lady Stark. Do you claim that old woman could cut through hardened steel? There was a shadow. I know how mad it sounds, but I was helping Renly with his armor, and the candles blew out, and there was blood everywhere. It was Stannis, Lady Catelyn said. His shadow. I had no part in it, on my honor. You have no honor. Draw your sword. I won't have it said that I slew you while your hand was empty. Jaime stepped between them. Put the sword away, sir. Sir Loras edged around him. Are you a craven as well as a killer, Brienne? Is that why you ran, with his blood on your hands? Draw your sword, woman. Best hope she doesn't. Jaime blocked his path again. Or it's like to be your corpse would carry out, which is as strong as Gregor Clegane, though not so pretty. This is no concern of yours. Sir Loras shoved him aside. Jaime grabbed the boy with his good hand and yanked him around. I am the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, you arrogant pup. You're commander so long as you wear that white cloak. Now sheathe your bloody sword, or I'll take it from you and shove it up someplace even Renly never found. The boy hesitated half a heartbeat, long enough for Sir Balon Swan to say, Do as the Lord Commander says, Loras. Some of the gold cloaks drew their steel then, and that means some Dreadfort men do the same. Splendid, thought Jaime. No sooner do I climb down off my horse than we have a bloodbath in the yard. Sir Loras Tyrell slammed his sword back in the sheath. That wasn't so difficult, was it? I want her arrested, Sir Loras pointed. Lady Brienne, I charge you with the murder of Lord Renly Baratheon. For what it's worth, said Jaime, the wench does have honor, more than I've seen from you, and it may even be she's telling it true. I'll grant you she's not what you'd call clever, but even my horse could come up with a better lie if it was a lie she meant to tell. As you insist, however, Sir Balon, escort Lady Brienne to a tower cell and hold her there under guard, and find some suitable quarters for Steelshanks and his men until such time as my father can see them. Yes, my lord. Brienne's big blue eyes were full of hurt as Balon Swan and a dozen gold cloaks led her away. You ought to be blowing me kisses, wench, he wanted to tell her. Why must they misunderstand every bloody thing he did? Ares, it all grows from Ares.
It doesn't remind you of the Tyrion and the Alistair Thorne about he gives him exactly what Alistair Thorne wants, but he makes it sound like it's a kind of an insult to most people, but a clever person would have realized
he's trying to help you.
Yeah, I just gave you what you wanted men. I told you to go to our jails. You wanted weapons. I gave you spades. I mean, it's there are times when Jaime and Tyrion, especially when their arcs are slowly going in the opposite direction, there is that middle area where
he talked about
big circle.
He talked about them thinking him a monster here too, right? Which we know is what Tyrion says, that he wants to be the monster. He wishes he were the monster.
As they're, I don't know what the little diagram with the circles and the area where they slightly almost the bad symbol.
Also,
where they come together in the middle. What's that?
There's also a certain irony. There's also a certain irony in Jaime saying it all grows from Ares, given that he grows from Ares. See, Triple episode 5.
There you go.
Jaime turned his back on the lynch and strode across the yard. So Sansa's our last POV took a bit to recognize the family resemblance of Oswell to his sons, and now Oswell's oldest son will take a bit to recognize the family resemblance of our POV. And right, she specifically studies him, has to study him for a while before she sees the resemblance, and he's gonna do that exact same thing, right? So, in a world without photography and not a Venn diagram, dude.
Man, I failed science. Okay, I know that was on the tip of my tongue. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, that doesn't sound right, and I don't want to say the word if that's not what it is. But yeah, the Venn diagram where you got this and that, and where they overlap. That's where we're at right now in the story with Jaime and Tyrion.
Being perceived as a monster.
Well, their arcs are merging before they go the opposite direction.
Right. They're supposed to be like, I was helping, she says.
I'm sorry, I got embarrassed that I didn't know what it was. I didn't ask my wife. I tend to lash out.
I noticed what you were talking about. So in a world without photography, anonymity is the norm. In the original show, it was mostly Arya that experienced the anonymity of the world, but I think House of the Dragon wants to correct that. Probably because it will continue to be a feature in future books and was downplayed so much in the show. And perhaps specifically there's a septa, perhaps Princess Scalera Martell, and or maybe the Silent Sister Joanna Lannister enjoying that anonymity in King's Landing. See A Song of Ice and Toodle, Secret History of House Martell, and Joanna Lannister is Alive by Reddit user The Sully, also known as Gods of Terror on Tumblr and Loki Ragnaroki on Twitter.
Now, the Toodle stuff that you've recommended me over the time that I've known you, I really love.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He definitely put a lot of thought, and
No,
even
no.
if
I personally obviously disagree with some of his interpretations. For example, like I don't dispute that you could potentially make a better story with this idea of Brandon being married to Shara Dane, but I don't think it actually fits what George is doing, both because I mean, the very first retcon in the story, he published Dany's story first, and then he published a Game of Thrones, and his very first major retcon was to add bigamy. And then he has Ned tell us that he has a lady wife that he thinks is probably still alive, that he did something terrible to. And so that doesn't fit the idea that Brandon is married to a Shara Dane. It doesn't fit the concept of what he's doing. It doesn't fit the retcon. It doesn't fit the text of Ned saying, "I have a wife that I did something terrible to." Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't agree with some of his interpretations.
On that is as much as I like M plus A equals J, and
Right. I'm acknowledging that could be a better story potentially. That's not what fits with what we're doing here.
The way that I read the clues that I see, and most people that are M plus A equals J see to prove M plus A equals J is true, could still have Brandon in there if Ashara meets Brandon in King's Landing and she has access to King's Landing. We got Varys that can
get all that.
The black cells. When she gets back up with Ned, she's already pregnant with Brandon, and Ned loves Ashara.
Possible.
She's pregnant. The dishonor on her done by his brother, and he loves her. What would he do? He would marry her.
That's not what Toodles is saying, right?
Yeah,
Toodles is saying that Ned didn't marry Ashara Dane and that Brandon married Ashara Dane, and that's my problem, right? Because it doesn't do that. It doesn't fulfill the
I don't think Brandon married Ashara. If it is B plus A equals J, they got together in the black cells, facilitated by Varys, which might be another reason why Ned doesn't like Varys. And they did the hokey pokey and turned themselves about.
I'm just saying, I certainly don't agree with everything he says, and I personally am fairly opposed to the idea that Ned wouldn't have married Ashara Dane because he kind of needs to for symbolism purposes, for explaining why George would do the retcon, for Ned saying, So to me, it's very important. Even if R plus L equals J, it's pretty important that Ned has to marry Ashara Dane.
Yeah. And speaking of retcons, for that one YouTuber out there that hated the theory of Gendry, he retconned Gendry with episode 2 of season 1 of Game of Thrones, the episode that he wrote. Somebody's trying to call. I don't know. About her having a little black-haired baby. But okay.
All right. Another knight in white armor was guarding the doors of the royal sept. A tall man with a black beard, broad shoulders, and of course this is all because I've been talking about. Anyway, we got way off, but the point is we're going to see this mirror image of Sansa with not recognizing the Kettleblack family, with the oldest Kettleblack not recognizing the family resemblance of the Lannisters here. A tall man with a black beard, broad shoulders, and hooked nose. When he saw Jaime, he gave a sour smile and said, "And where do you think you're going?" "Into the sept." Jaime lifted his stump to point. "That one right there. I mean to see the queen. Her grace is in mourning, and why would she be wanting to see the likes of you?" "Because I'm her lover and the father of her murdered son," he wanted to say. "Who in seven hells are you?" "A knight of the Kingsguard. You'd best learn some respect, cripple, or I'll have that other hand and leave you to suck up your porridge of a morning." "I am the queen's brother, sir." Wait, I thought that funny. "Escaped, have you? And grown a bit as well, my lord?" "Her other brother, dolt, and the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Now stand aside, or you'll wish you had." Dolt took a long look this time. See, that long look reminds me of Sansa. Is it? Well, plus this is basically, as we said, a mirror image of that
Yeah.
place. Is it Sir Jamie? He straightened. My pardons, my lord. I did not know you. I have the honor to be Sir Osmond Kettleblack. Where's the honor in that? I want some time alone with my sister. See that no one enters the sept, sir. If we're disturbed, I'll have your bloody head. Aye, sir, as you say. Sir Osmond opened the door. Cersei was kneeling before the altar of the mother. Joffrey's bier had been laid out beneath the stranger who led the newly dead to the other world. The smell of incense hung heavy in the air, and 100 candles burned, sending up 100 prayers. Joff's liked to need every one of them, too. The sister looked over her shoulder. Who? She said then. Jamie? She rose, her eyes brimming with tears. Is it truly you? She did not come to him, however. She's never come to me, he thought. She has always waited, letting me come to her. She gives, but I must ask. You should have come sooner, she murmured when he took her in his arms. Why couldn't
Notice
you come sooner?
that he's not as oblivious to her ways of controlling him.
Yeah, he's aware. Yeah.
And the time apart definitely might have given him that clarity by replaying things over in his head.
Well, he's been thinking about how this would go, and he's predicted it exactly right?
Yeah.
You should have come sooner, she murmured when he took her in his arms. Why couldn't you have come sooner to keep him safe, my boy? Our boy. I came as fast as I could. I came as fast as I could. He broke from the embrace. I came as fast as I could. He broke from the embrace and stepped back a pace. It's war out there, sister. And I tried to emphasize the could in my notes because I was trying to remind myself that the only way to make this work without it being a typo is that you have to be saying, I came as fast as I could, right? Because when I first looked at it, I thought it was a typo. It was I came as fast as I could. But that's not what it says. Now, it might be a typo, and maybe it should say that. But this sentence can work if it's came as fast as I could, right?
Right.
Anyway, so it doesn't have to be a typo. So if you say it, I came as fast as I could. He broke from the embrace and stepped back a pace. It's war out there, sister. You look so thin, and your golden hair. The hair will grow back. Jimmy lifted his stump. She needs to see. This won't. Her eyes went wide. The Starks. No. This was Vargo Hote's work. The name meant nothing to her. Who? The goat of Harrenhal for a little while. Cersei turned to gaze at Joffrey's bier. They had dressed the dead king in gilded armor, eerily similar to Jaime's own. The visor of the helm was closed, but the candles reflected softly off the gold, so the voice shimmered bright and brave in death. The candlelight woke fires in the rubies that decorated the bodice of Cersei's mourning dress as well. Her hair fell to her shoulders, undressed and unkempt. He killed him, Jaime, just as he'd warned me. One day, when I thought myself safe and happy, he would turn my joy to ashes in my mouth, he said. Tyrion said that? Jaime not wanted to believe it. Kinslaying was worse than kingslaying in the eyes of gods and men. Interesting comparison. In your case, exactly. Kingslaying is kinslaying. See Triplet Targaryens episode 5. But yeah, George does this a lot with Jaime is right, because I mean back in the second book he had the whole thing with Renly and the fool hitting them with the bladder and so forth. Anyway. It's Kingslayer, fool of a fool. Anyway. See Triplet Targaryens episode 5. Anyway, he knew the boy was mine. I loved Tyrion. I was good to him. Well, but for that one time. But the imp did not know the truth of that. Did he? Why would he kill Joff? For a whore. She clutched his good hand and held it tight in hers. He told me he was going to do it. Joff knew. As he was dying, he pointed at his murderer, at our twisted little monster of a brother. She kissed Jaime's fingers. You'll kill him for me, won't you? You'll avenge our son. Jaime pulled away. He is still my brother.
Quick thing. Jaime tells us that Cersei won't cry except in his presence, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, he meets her at the sept teary-eyed, okay? I think that the tears that she's shedding at the sept in front of the mother is because she is responsible. One of the people that we theorized that she's responsible for Joffrey's death. So now that's just a double whammy of her son's dead and I'm responsible. And the little shit that I wanted to kill is still alive. So let me do
Yeah, it
what I
could be.
can to make up for that and kill him too. So yeah, I'm definitely on the multiple people wanted people
Yeah,
dead
yeah.
at the
That's interesting.
wedding.
I can certainly accept that. Like I said, I need the Tyrells to have wanted to kill Joffrey, but that doesn't mean that they didn't also want to kill Tyrion, or that Cersei may have wanted to kill Tyrion, or who knows who else might have wanted to kill Tyrion.
Well, I
Possibly
mean, just
including
like in the
Tywin.
show with the Red Viper, I'm like, I'm surprised I'm not a suspect. I mean,
Yep,
you just
yep.
have the
And
Red
maybe he
Viper
was.
going
Maybe he
and
was also trying to poison.
well, yeah, he could have been in another one of those that were trying to poison
Yeah, that's
somebody.
what I'm saying.
But
It could be like the
the
murder on the Orient Express. There could be like 12 people trying to kill somebody.
well, you have the person known worldwide for poisoning his blades and poisoning people come to the King's Landing, and now you have one. But essentially, it was supposed to be two people poisoned at a wedding that he is attending. That he would have been, especially both of them being of Lannister blood. Um, he would have been suspect number one. The only reason he's not suspect of number one is Cersei
They pointed
pointed
the
to
finger elsewhere.
Tyrion,
Yep,
arrest him.
yep,
So that means,
yep,
yeah,
yep. And of course, Jamie just finished telling us how terrible it would be to be a kinslayer, and she's asking him to kill his brother.
yeah.
He shoved his stump at her face, in case she failed to see it. And I am in no fit state to be killing anyone. You have another hand, don't you? I'm not asking you to best the hound in battle. Tyrion is a dwarf locked in a cell. The guards would stand aside for you. This would be some interesting foreshadowing and irony for Jamie as the Valonqar. He's
Yeah.
not. See Triple Figures episode 6, but it would be some interesting foreshadowing and irony, right? Because she's specifically saying that you can kill with one hand.
Yeah.
The thought turned his stomach. You must know more of this and how it happened. You shall, Cersei promised. There should be a trial. When you hear all he did, you'll want him dead as much as I do. She touched his face. I was lost without you, Jamie. I was afraid the Starks would send me your head. I could not have borne that. She kissed him. A light kiss, the merest brush of her lips on his, but he could feel her tremble as he slid his arms around her. I'm not whole without you. There was no tenderness in the kiss he returned to her, only hunger. Her mouth opened for his tongue. No, she said weakly when his lips moved down her neck. Not here, the septons. The others can take the septons. He kissed her again, kissed her silent, kissed her until she moaned. Then he knocked the candles aside and lifted her up onto the mother's altar, pushing up her skirts and the silken shift beneath. She pounded on his chest with feeble fists, murmuring about the risk, the danger, about their father, about the septons, about the wrath of gods. He never heard her. He undid his breeches and climbed up and pushed her bare white legs apart. One hand slid up her thigh and underneath her small clothes. When he tore them away, he saw that her moon's blood was on her, but it made no difference. Hurry, she was whispering now. Quickly, quickly, now, do it now. Do me now. Jamie, Jamie, Jamie. Her hands helped guide him. Yes, Cersei said as he thrust. My brother, sweet brother, yes, like that, yes. I have you. You're home now. You're home now. You're home. She kissed his ear and stroked his short, bristly hair. Jamie lost himself in her flesh. He could feel Cersei's heart beating in time with his own, and the wetness of blood and seed where they were joined. This was portrayed a bit differently in the show.
Yeah.
But no sooner were they done than the queen said, Let me up. If we're discovered like this. Reluctantly, he rolled away and helped her off the altar. The pale marble was smeared with blood. Jamie wiped it clean with his sleeve, then bent to pick up the candles he knocked over. Fortunately, they'd all gone out when they fell. If the septic caught fire, I might never have noticed. So that could be some foreshadowing for the septic catching fire, yes. This was folly. Cersei pulled her gown straight. With father in the castle? Jamie, we must be careful. I am sick of being careful. The Targaryens wed brother to sister. Why shouldn't we do the same? Marry me, Cersei. Stand up before the realm and say it's me you want. We'll have our own wedding feast and make another son in place of Joffrey. You are the same. See Triple Targaryens episode 5. She drew back. That's not funny. Do you hear me chuckling? Did you leave your wits at Riverrun? Her voice had an edge to it. Tommen's throne derives from Robert, you know that. He'll have Castle Rock, isn't that enough? Let father sit the throne. Your father did sit the throne. Strange how your father keeps getting conflated with Aerys II, or sometimes Cersei or Joffrey. See Triple Targaryens episode 5.
I knew
All I want is
exactly
you.
which episode you were going to say.
This is probably the one I cite the most. He made to touch her cheek. Old habits die hard. It was his right arm he lifted. Cersei recoiled from his stump. Don't, don't talk like this. You're scaring me, Jamie. Don't be stupid. One wrong word and you'll cost us everything. What did they do to you? They cut off my hand. No, it's more. You're changed. She backed off a step. We'll talk later. On the morrow. I have Sansa Stark's maids in a tower cell. I need to question them. You should go to father. I crossed 1,000 leagues to come to you, and lost the best part of me along the way. Don't tell me to leave. Leave me, she repeated, turning away. Jamie laced up his breeches and did as she commanded. Weary as he was, he could not seek a bed. By now his lord father knew that he was back in the city. The Tower of the Hand was guarded by Lannister household guards who knew him at once. The gods are good to give you back to us, sir, one said as he held the door. The gods had no part in it. Catelyn Stark gave me back, her and the Lord of the Dreadfort. He climbed the stairs and pushed into the cellar unannounced to find his father sitting by the fire. Lord Tywin was alone, for which Jamie was thankful. He had no desire to flaunt his maimed hand for Mace Tyrell or the Red Viper just now, much less the two of them together. Jamie, Lord Tywin said, as if they'd last seen each other at breakfast. Lord Bolton led me to expect you earlier. I'd hoped you'd be here for the wedding. I was delayed. Jamie closed the door softly. My sister outdid herself, I'm told. 77 courses in a regicide. Never a wedding like it. How long have you known I was free? That's interesting. Here he's referring to the regicide as making it a good wedding, which makes it sound kind of Dothraki.
Yeah, exactly.
The eunuch told me a
Which
few days
might
after your
hint at the Dothraki wedding that we do see in here might possibly have Valyrian blood in his lineage.
certainly it seems to count as king's blood, and you have a theory about king's blood, as you were just saying at the beginning of this video. The eunuch told me a few days after your escape. I sent men into Riverlands to look for you. Gregor Clegane, Samuel Spicer, the brothers Plum. Varys put out the word as well, but quietly. We agreed that the fewer people who knew you were free, the fewer would be hunting you. Just in from doctor, says Mother Rowan. Good to have you here.
Hey, Mother.
Did Varys mention this? He moved closer to the fire to let his father see. One time he pushed himself out of his chair, breath hissing between his teeth. Who did this? If Lady Catelyn thinks... I mean, you already know that Catelyn's dead, so it's kind of a weird thing to say if Lady Catelyn thinks.
Yeah.
Anyway. Lady Catelyn held a sword in my throat and made me swear to return her daughters. This was your goat's work. Bargo Hope, the Lord of Harrenhal. Lord Tywin looked away, disgusted. No longer. Sir Gregor's taken the castle. The sellswords deserted their erstwhile captain almost to a man, and some of Lady Went's old people opened a postern gate. Clegane found Hope sitting alone in the Hall of 100 Hearths, with pain and fever from a wound that festered. His ear, I'm told. Jamie had to laugh. Too sweet. His ear. He could scarcely wait to tell Brienne, though the wench went by as fast as he did. Is he dead yet? Soon. They have taken off his hands and feet, but Clegane seems amused by the way the cohort slumbers. Jamie's smile curdled. What about his brave companions? The few who stayed at Harrenhal are dead. The others scattered. They'll make for ports, I'll warrant, or try and lose themselves in the woods. He's got that right. His eyes went back to Jamie's stump, and his mouth grew taut with fury. We'll have their heads, everyone. Can you use a sword with your left hand? I hardly dress myself in the morning. Jamie held up the hand in question for his father's inspection. 4 fingers, a thumb, much like the other. Why shouldn't it work as well? Good, his father said. That is good. I have a gift for you. Before you return, after Varys told me. Unless it's a new hand, let it wait. Jamie took the chair across from him. How did Joffrey die? Poison. It was meant to appear as though he choked on a morsel of food, but had his throat slit open and the maesters could find no obstruction. Cersei claims that Tyrion did it. Your brother served the king the poison wine with 1,000 people looking on. That was rather foolish of him. This almost sounds like George wanting to remind us the point of the dagger was to frame Robert. Or, if you prefer the Robert did it interpretation, remind us that Robert sent the cat's paw. We talked about how there's specific language that basically says Robert is a fool, and only a fool would send a man with his own dagger. So he's saying, that's too foolish for Tyrion to have done this. And it's supposed to be like the idea that Tyrion wouldn't have sent a cat's paw with his own dagger, because kind of
Also,
only a fool would do that.
Tywin going along with the implausibility that his clever son would serve him the wine He's another one of those that had a hand in a poisoning attempt at
Right.
the
Right.
wedding. He
Right.
didn't know the
Who's in on
exact,
it? Yep.
yeah, that none of the people that wanted the poisoning done knew all the exact details that were going
Right.
into the poisoning.
But they could have been
So,
in on the poisoning itself.
so now Tywin
Yeah.
also thinks I'm responsible. Uh,
Right. Right. So it helps to get rid of. He's always wanted to get rid of Tyrion anyway, and how he also gets to cast blame elsewhere and so forth. Yeah.
See, he could have been another one that wanted both done, just like the
Yeah.
Tyrells
Definitely could.
wanted
Definitely could
both
have been.
done.
Yep. Yep.
Cersei wanted one done. I mean, yeah,
Right.
there was, like I said,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving.
I'm definitely in on the idea that Tywin was not at all rattled by this whatsoever, as
No,
if he knew it was happening.
yeah,
I have taken Tyrion's squire into custody, his wife's maids as well. We shall see if they have anything to tell us. Sir Adam's goldcloaks are searching for the Stark girl, and Varys has offered a reward. The king's justice will be done. The king's justice. You would execute your own son? He stands accused of regicide and kinslaying. If he's innocent, he has nothing to fear. First, we must needs consider the evidence for and against him. Evidence. In the city of liars, Jaime knew what sort of evidence would be found. Renly died
that's
strangely as
another
well.
thing there that the Jamie knows that there's no way that the truth will be found out,
Right,
and
right. He
in
knows that this
Tywin
trial is going to work.
and
Yeah,
in Tywin's like the if he's innocent, he has nothing to fear.
yeah, yeah.
We'll find the truth. I mean, just another
Uh-huh.
Tywin cover up of get rid of my son. Still,
Oh, it's
I
also the
get
word regicide and kinslaying, which there's two things there. One, it kind of implies that Cersei or Tywin is in on the killing,
mhm,
right?
right.
Um, and and two, it ties regicide and kinslaying while talking to the Kingslayer.
Exactly.
Teacher, episode 5.
Nice catch, though. That was good.
Yeah, I've missed that one before.
George is a sneaky little bastard.
Yep, yep. Renly died strangely as well when Stannis needed him to. Lord Renly was murdered by one of his own guards, some woman from Tarth. That woman from Tarth is the reason I'm here. I tossed her in a cell to appease Sir Loras, but I'll believe in Renly's ghost before I believe she did him any harm. But Stannis, it was poison that killed Joffrey, not sorcery. Lord Tywin glanced at Jaime's stump again. You cannot serve in the Kingsguard without a sword hand. Of course, the very next chapter is going to be the sorcerer taking credit for this poisoning.
There you
The
go.
same sorcerer that he's talking about. I can, he interrupted. And I will. There's precedence. I'll look in the White Book and find it if you like. Crippled or whole, a knight of the Kingsguard serves for life. So it could be that Gerald Hightower's ability to fight with his offhand has thrown off Jaime's ability to think of him as crippled, right? It could be that
Right.
he really did lose half his sword hand. But
Well,
because he fought so well afterwards that nobody really thinks of him as crippled.
right. But they still tell the story at the wall of how Half Hand lost his hand, and then also when it comes to George in this world, when we hear something in somebody's name, like the theories of how the king died on Jaime's way to King's Landing, was it the Lord Commander or was it Oswald Went? I mean,
Right. I do like that some of the evidence that the Order of the Green Hand trots out there. Now, both Toodles and Lady Thistle have argued that Gerald Hightower, the name means spear leader, and that and then when you look at the way that the nicknames of the people at the wall work, they're usually the opposite, right? They're usually ironic nicknames. So the idea that the spear man could be the spear leader could in fact be the White Bull actually does make a lot of sense. And symbolically, as LML has argued, he fulfills the role of the White Bull, and therefore he kind of likes the idea that he could be.
Well, stop and think about this, okay?
Gerald.
As well as Sir Jamie, and that was for Pod. He's a knight after all; he deserves his title. Sir Jamie knows about Sir Arthur Dane. I would think that he would be able to instantly name the knight that was maimed and still continued. Um,
Right.
and him comparing himself to a Lord Commander that had a maimed hand would be more of a mirror. So
Yep.
it
Yep. Yep.
should
It's a
be
better parallel that way.
right. It should be Sir
Should be
Gerald
Gerald
Hightower.
Hightower. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Cersei ended that when she replaced her Barristan on grounds of age. A suitable gift to the faith will persuade the High Septon to release you from your vows. Your sister was foolish to dismiss Felmy, admittedly, but now that she's opened the gates, someone needs to close them again, Jamie stood. I'm tired of having high-born women kicking pails of shit at me, father. No one ever asked me if I wanted to be Lord Commander of the Cape Guard, but it seems I am. I have a duty. You do, Lord Tywin rose this one. A duty to House Lannister. You are the heir to Castle Rock. That is where you should be. Tommen should accompany you as your ward and squire. The Rock is where he'll learn to be a Lannister. I want him away from his mother. We need to find a new husband for Cersei. Over Martell, perhaps, once I convince Lord Tyrell that the match does not threaten Highgarden. This past time you were wed. The Tyrells are now insisting that Marjorie be wedded to Tommen. But if I were to offer you instead, no! Jamie had heard all that he could stand. No, more than he could stand. He was sick of it. Sick of lords and lies, sick of his father, his sister, sick of the whole bloody business. No, 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 no. How many times must I say no before you'll hear it? Oberyn Martell? The man's infamous, and not just for poisoning his sword. He has more bastards than Robert, and Bess's boys as well. And if you think for one misbegotten moment that I would wed Joffrey's widow, Lord Tyrell swears the girl's still maiden. She can die a maiden as far as I'm concerned. I don't want her, and I don't want your rock. You are my son. I'm a knight of the Kingsguard, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and that's all I mean to be. You know what else fits? Jamie's going to sacrifice himself to save Brienne. Redacted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she does make a lot of sense with the court half-hand sacrificing himself.
Yep. I get
it. I don't like you for saying it, but you're probably right.
Fire, like at a minimum, he needs to be as a dead man like Davos, and he certainly has a lot of Davos parallels, which is part of why I think Davos might kill Stannis. Firelight, gleam golden. In fact, that's my number one guess for what happens to Stannis is that Davos kills him. Firelight, gleam golden, and the stiff whiskers that frame Lord. And my number two guess would be that Devon Seaworth kills him. Firelight, gleam golden, and the stiff whiskers that frame Lord Tywin's face. The vein pulsed his neck, but he did not speak, and did not speak, and did not speak. The strange silence went on until it was more than Jamie could endure. Father, he began, you are not my son. Lord Tywin turned his face away. You say you are the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and only that. Very well, sir. Go, do your duty. He is not your son. See each other against episode 5. Up next.
I knew it was episode 5. Hey, you know that how Tyrion uses his misshaped eyes to make people uncomfortable, and then to get them talking. Tywin uses silence, which is an interrogation tactic a lot too, because the person that is being interrogated is sitting there and it's racing through their mind. Okay, what is the cop thinking type thing? Tywin does the same thing, and it's always the other person that breaks the silence. It's just a way that Tywin and Tyrion are alike, of how they make people uncomfortable. And then also, firelight gleamed golden in the stiff whiskers that framed Lord Tywin's face. We usually see firelight from Cersei's green eyes, referencing Dragonfire, and then with Tywin, it's firelight off his golden whiskers. It should be Cersei's golden hair that the firelight is shown through, but it's her green eyes, given that green wildfire, Dragonfire imagery, also with her green dress and stuff like that. But
right, and I mentioned that the next chapter is in fact the one in which the sorceress is claiming that she gets credit for both of these kills, right?
Yeah.
Up next, Storm 63, Davos 6. A king protects his people, or he is no king at all.
Oh, it's really good that that possibly the theory video I want to work on is going to come after that next video.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, Monday, I can't do Monday. I'm going to
Okay.
see, already made plans to go see, since my oldest son has left me, abandoned me, and his friend are going to go see Deadpool Wolverine because I can't wait until Chris gets home, avoiding Deadpool Wolverine spoilers on YouTube
Sure.
because a lot of times they'll put the spoiler
In the title, sure.
in the title. As soon as you see the little thumbnail, it's just shot that it messed it all up. So, but yeah, I'm going Monday to do that. But if you're available for Tuesday, that'd be cool.
Good question. I think so. Go ahead and block my calendar now. Let's do that. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and block the calendar now then. We'll do that. All right, let's put it on Tuesday. Let's do that.
This short chapter took an hour.
Yep. Well, there's quite a few. There's quite a few. Truly figuring out 5 and 6 references for one thing.
Yeah. There was a couple of rabbit holes going, but yeah.
And interesting references to both the chapter before and the chapter afterwards.
And I do like the references to possibly Ares being his father. I mean, there's quite a bit of those in this chapter.
Yep. And conflating of
I think you caught every one of them too.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job there.
And the reference to the Lord Commander with messed up hand, cementing what Lady Thistle thinks that Half-Hand and Hightower are. I mean, and then also hair color. We're talking about no pictures and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, the Hightowers have the almost bleach blonde looking hair. Even though they're not shown that way in the House of the Dragon. Corrin Half-Hand being gray-headed would, and then that would also lean toward Tormund being gray-headed too. You can't tell what color their hair used to be when they were younger to possibly hitch their wagon to a certain family. Just like a young Baratheon with the cobalt, the charcoal black hair and the blue eyes. When they're old, it's gray. You don't know that it used to be that jet black hair. And then also with the Hightowers with that bleach blonde, not Targaryen blonde, but it's still pretty light in the blonde color, possibly hinting to similar ancestry. Them and the Danes, but when you give a character that gray hair, then you can't tie them to any family in the entire realm because their hair is gray. So that just talking about the Hightower there for a second, but yeah, I think Lady Thistle is extremely correct that Sir Gerald Hightower is Corrin Half-Hand.
Yep, I've been convinced that actually works better, both from the symbolism and that we actually are told that the nicknames up there are mostly ironic. So yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I still will go down a rabbit hole that Corrin Half-Hand was Sir Arthur Dayne and Mance Rayder is Rhaegar. Now, I don't believe that, but it's still a fun rabbit hole to go down. I mean, a lot of the rabbit holes that don't pan out or don't go anywhere in this story are extremely entertaining and fun.
I like the evidence that the Green Hand gives for as well being Corrin Half-Hand too. The concept, the obsession with sharpening blades and things. So there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah,
interesting interpretations.
Well, I mean, George is ambiguous, just like if let's say was Jay is correct, it's still sort of ambiguous when it comes to either whether it's Ned or Brandon with some of the things that are pointed that way.
Right, certainly that's true with Rob.
She turned to Stark. instead of she turned to Ned. I mean, Edard or anything. I mean, there are some ambiguous statements that are used to point out N plus A equals J, but could also be B plus A.
Oh, and I really like the idea that they can be cousins for a different reason because it might be
Well, also
the
stop
father of
thinking about this.
the.
Um, George asked the Dumb and Dumber who John's mother was. Okay,
Yep.
he did not ask who's John's father.
Yep.
Maybe that it was a secret that he did not want any evidence or any spilling of the tea to possibly point toward the least likely of the three, Rhaegar, Ned, and Brandon, to possibly be in the correct answer. So
Sure.
there's that.
So that just because the story needs bigamy doesn't mean that it needs John to be Ned's.
Yeah.
I like John as being Ned's true-born son, but
Yeah, so do I.
that's not really as required for the story.
Yeah,
Although
well,
I like the clues that he is. I like that, I'm not a Stark, but it's no good. You know nothing, John Stark, as I say in I think it's episode 2.
Yeah.
It is episode 2. Siege of the Dragons episode 2.
Something different from episode 5.
Yeah.
All right, we're at the hour 6.
Yep. Let's wrap it up. What do you think, Mia? What do you think?
Hey!
What do you think? Hey, Mia. Here's Leo. Hey, Leo.
Come on. Oh, he's like, really? I'm ready for my close up.
All right, she's stretching. Mostly she wants to walk. Oh, sorry.
All right. Okay, it's Friday. You got anything else to add real quick?
No, everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Yep. Everybody have a safe and happy weekend. We appreciate y'all joining us today. Please be careful. I got really bad
they deserve some. They're pretty cute dogs.
Yeah.
The Direwolf has 3 heads here.
But that's what I get to do this weekend. Take care of Chihuahua.
Sammy, you haven't been on the camera. You want to come here? Sammy. He was kind of sleepy. All right, here he comes. Sammy, say hi. Say hi, Sammy.
Hey, Sammy. Hey, Sammy.
He can't hear you since I'm a headset in.
Oh, okay. Well, he could. Dogs have really good hearing.
That's true. Like the video. Good weekend.
All right. Y'all be good. Take care. We'll see y'all Tuesday. And I'll give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down or iffy on the Death of Wolverine on Tuesday. But y'all be good. Take
Sounds
care.
good.
And bye.
Bye.
Bye, Richard.
Sammy. Have a good one.